Yes, lesbians were at risk of being sent to the Magdalene Laundries. Make a sandwich with me and we'll talk about it.
Hi, I'm Elliot, the alt-Irish historian. I have a Master's in International History and I'm currently undergoing my PhD. Though there hasn't been a whole lot of research done on queer victims of the Magdalene Laundries, we do have some records of women of particular friendships being admitted. But here's why that's uncommon. When Victorian prudery was enforced in Ireland by Britain to try and stem the uncontrollable birth rate, this resulted in an asexual view of women both socially and historically. As such, two women could live together and it would not really be considered suspicious, particularly after An Gorta Mór, where we had one of the lowest marriage rates in Europe. Because of this, many of the queer women who were institutionalised, particularly before the end of the 20th century, were likely committed for some other sin. Industrial and reformatory schools, courts and orphanages all funneled women into the laundries, so there are no shortage of ways in which queer women could have been institutionalised. On top of that, aside from being lesbians or overtly queer, women could be admitted just for being gender non-conforming. Bernadette, who was sent to the laundries from an industrial school for flirting with boys and being deemed at risk of falling into sin, stated that friendships within the laundries created problems for the nuns and were therefore discouraged. Bernadette went on to say, "I've always felt there's only one sin in Ireland, and that's sex. I never saw any lesbianism. If you had a friend, it could progress into a lesbian relationship, and they weren't going to have that, so you didn't have friends. And if they saw you being too friendly with one particular person, they parted you." Philomena, who was institutionalised in the Good Shepherd Sisters in Limerick, then Waterford, then Sunday's Well, the Sisters of Charity on Peacock Lane, and then finally the Good Shepherd Sisters in New Ross, said about friendships in the laundries that nuns would see people talking and probably thought they were lesbians, so that the nuns actually had a much dirtier mind than many of the people within the laundries. Now, coming back to the reason that the Magdalenes were started, in June of 2018 at the Dublin Honours Magdalene event, many women emphatically stated that they were not prostitutes or sex workers and wanted the association between the Magdalene Laundries and sex work to be ended. Although the Magdalene Laundries were initially set up to stem the increasing wave of prostitution in Ireland, no victims of the Magdalene Laundries who spoke seem to have been sex workers. In 1996, Peterson discussed the term of the whore stigma. It could be used against women who spoke out against men who abused them, visible lesbians, demonstrators for abortion rights, and could likewise be used to throw suspicion onto widows, battered wives, or single mothers. Heteronormativity was enforced by removing queerness from view. And within the context of the Magdalene Laundries, we can see that as either institutionalising queer people or enforcing a strict code of silence, straight passing, and fear around queerness. So yes, lesbians or women of particular friendships were recorded in the laundries, but it is more likely that they were admitted or institutionalised through some other factor other than their sexuality, and then were recorded as being of a particular friendship once within the laundry.
However, this is based on my personal research and what I could find. There's not been enough research done into queer victims of the laundries. If you happen to know any historians who have been working on this, please do let me know. Now you know. And now I need to go cook my sandwich.